What's up, y'all? Roy here, and you are listening to Clemenz with a Z podcast. Got another episode here for you today in the series. We were in a cult where I get to sit down and speak with former members and members of the ICOC to try and make sense of this wild thing that we were in and hopefully find some healing along the way. Now, I'm excited about today's episode for a couple of reasons. One, because this episode took me across the globe, literally. So I was able to speak with former member Eugene, who joined me all the way from Russia to share his story of joining, surviving, eventually leaving the church. But what also excited me was this isn't just a story about the ICOC. It's also a story of the ICC, because Eugene, as you'll learn in this story, became a member of the ICC as well. So Eugene's story begins in 1994 as a freshman at the university in Saint Petersburg. He was young and he was uncertain, and like so many of us at that age, was looking for purpose, connection, and for meaning. And that's when the ICOC found him. Now, what followed was years of deep involvement, spiritual highs, and serious psychological tolls, some of which he's still unpacking to this day. Now, what's powerful about his story isn't just what happened, but how familiar it sounds. Despite being half a world away, his experiences echoed so many of the same patterns that I've seen in stories here in the States. Love bombing, exclusivity, fear-based control, and the slow erosion of personal agency. It's a reminder that this wasn't just a U.S. phenomenon. The ICOC's reach was global. Its tactics were consistent, and its damage, in many cases, was quietly far-reaching. Now, Eugene brings a gentle honesty to this conversation, a kind of calm that only comes from someone who's done the hard work of processing, healing, and asking the tough questions. And if you've ever wondered what these groups look like outside the American bubble, or how this movement impacted people on an international scale, this episode opens that door. So whether you were in the ICOC, the ICC, knew someone who was, or you're just on your own journey of deconstruction, healing, or curiosity, thanks for being here. These stories matter, and I'm grateful that we keep getting to tell them. So let's get into it. All right, we are live. Hi, Eugene. How are you?
Hello. Hello, nice to hear you.
Good to hear you. Good to see you. Um, we are speaking
Mhm.
across the world right now. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
I wish it was under different circumstances than to talk about this wild church that we were in, but here we are.
Yeah, well, still, it's still okay. It's
Yeah.
still okay.
Um,
We're alive. We're happy.
yep.
We love God.
I
We're
like
looking,
that
we're
attitude.
looking forward to what God's want to do.
Sweet. I like it. So let's just jump right in. How did you get involved with the ICOC?
I was a student of university in Saint Petersburg, 1994, freshman, vulnerable, didn't know what to do. And classics, I was met in campus, came to Bible talk, and started to study the Bible. Before that, I was part of Baptist church. And actually, when I came to campus, it's not my native town. My native town is Minsk, Belarus. St. Petersburg
Mhm.
is 500 miles away. So I came there and I was kind of looking for some kind of church that I could be a part of. And I actually was happy when I was invited. And I had some struggles with doctrine, but but I got it, and I got baptized in November of 1994. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so two things. One, It's interesting for me. This is my Western American mind.
Yeah.
When you say you're Baptist,
Uh-huh.
that's it's wild to me to hear that the Baptist church was in Russia.
It wasn't in Russia, it was in Germany.
Okay,
Uh,
it's in
I
Germany. Okay.
I traveled for a couple of years before I had traveled for a couple of years before I enrolled the university. But to be honest, we've had a lot of Baptists.
Okay.
Baptist churches, yes, they've been there forever, actually, even in Soviet
Okay.
times. They were
Hmm.
persecuted, but they're still there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just I guess it shouldn't be as shocking to me as like when I think about the ICOC was all over the world. But
Right.
when I hear Russia, I think of like Orthodox Church, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But so
Yeah,
so
of
was
course, it's
go
not a
ahead.
movement. It's not such a big movement as you have in US, but
Mhm.
there are people and there are churches. Yeah. But in Germany, there was a lot of them. So I met them
Okay.
in Germany. I actually started to believe in God in this Baptist church in Germany. I was 19. Yeah.
Okay. So the second thing I was going to ask you was, were you religious growing up? Was God a big deal to you? What was your view of God? Like, is it's saying you started going to church at 19. So what was life like spiritually before that?
Um, there wasn't spiritual life. Before that, my parents were communists, so they didn't believe in God. My
Hmm.
grandmother, she was kind of Orthodox, but
Hmm.
very weird. I don't know. Well, I believed, but I always believed in something. I never read
Hmm.
it in my Bible or something. But I had a cross that my grandmother gave me. I believed it was like kind of magical thing. I cherished it. That was basically all my religious experience. But again, when I was 19, it was 1992, I moved to Germany. I just didn't want to stay in Russia. And I was young. I worked different kinds of works, just, hanging around. And I started to attend a Baptist church, and I got very deep into it. I started to read my Bible. I repented. I believed in Jesus. That was a big thing for me. So I could say I was converted into Christianity. And it took about a year and a half when I was there. And then I returned back to Russia because I decided to get an education to go to university, and I went to Saint Petersburg. That's basically it. Mhm.
So you were kind of converted to Christianity and then very soon after converted into a new doctrine
Right,
of
right,
Christianity.
right. And of course, it was for me, it was a struggle because at first I couldn't accept that I wasn't, that they claimed that I actually
Hmm.
hadn't been converted.
Yeah. Hmm.
Well, I decided to accept it as though it was hard, and I said, okay. I have no other church anyway. Well, I take it. That's basically how it was. Yeah.
Okay. So So what was it though that attracted you? Let's like before ICOC, like, you're growing up, not really thinking about God or anything like that. What was it that you felt a call or a need to it in Germany in the first place?
Um, I don't know. Basically, I wasn't attracted at first. When I came there, I lived in a very small village, remote village, and there was nothing but this Baptist church. So
Okay.
I basically didn't have any other place to go. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a lot of money to go somewhere. So I just started to go there every Sunday. At
Hmm.
first, it was just, I don't know, kind of entertainment. I started to talk to people. I found them very attractive and nice people. I was very impressed by that because I thought all the religious people were stupid or something. And I found like very calm, nice, polite, educated people. I was very impressed by that. And I just started to read my Bible. And I would say that Word of God changed my heart. It took about
Okay.
4 or 5 months of constant attending of the
Yeah.
church. So, and somehow one day I woke up a believer. Yeah,
Got it.
that was a way.
It sounds like you were searching in a way. It gave you a community, and through the community, you felt a call to it.
I think so. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. That
Nice.
first there was a community, then it was Bible,
Mhm.
then it was faith. Yeah.
Yeah. So you get this faith, and then you're met by the ICOC, and you said it was a struggle in the beginning because I know for us, when you're met, was the study series as big in the 90s? Like, did you have to do the studies like I had to do, the word, the
Yeah, I think
kingdom, the
so. I
denom
think so.
study,
Yeah,
those
I
type of
had this
things?
discipleship and all this stuff. Are you a Christian? Are you a
Mhm.
catcher of the souls?
Mhm.
So you're not saved.
Okay.
Well, I admitted I wasn't a catcher of the souls
Hmm.
because I wasn't. Uh, and actually,
Can I
this
can I ask
doctrine,
what you mean by real quick? I was just saying, can I ask you what you mean by catcher of the souls?
well, when Jesus called fishermen and he said,
Okay, got you.
I will make a catcher of the souls.
Okay.
I just don't know. I don't remember how it is in English Bible because I
Hmm.
usually read Russian one. Yeah, but in Russian
Okay.
one it sounds like this. Yeah,
Yeah, I think
I'll
he's
teach
saying,
you how to fish for people. Yeah, this thing.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I realized I wasn't. It was
Hmm.
hard for me to accept that I wasn't saved because of that, but actually I did. And
Well,
I agreed to get baptized and become a part of the church. So that was basically my way. Mhm.
was it like our adherence to baptism that made you feel that you weren't saved, or was it something else?
Um, I think that adherence to this idea that I accepted the idea that to be saved, you got to be
Hmm.
active disciple. You got to be involved
Oh, okay.
into the
Hmm.
process of converting the world in one generation. So
Got it.
something
Hmm.
like this. I accepted. I embraced it.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
as
had
though it
that.
wasn't easy, I would say. Hmm.
Yeah, we had that. Our viewpoint was the idea of being a Christian was active. Like you weren't
Yeah,
just getting baptized in that, you had to be doing things and showing
exactly,
up, catching
exactly,
those
exactly.
souls, that type of thing. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, you were convinced, you got baptized, and um, what was it like in the beginning? Was it happy? Was it joyful?
It
Were you like,
was,
I'm
it
happy to
was,
be here?
it was kind of weird, but
Hmm.
I was happy, because before that I was very depressed.
Hmm.
Somehow I moved to new city, university. Also, 90s in Russia were kind of sad times. It was
Because were
transition
you,
between Soviet Union and something new. People were extremely poor. Nobody was happy. It was it was depressing. And those Christian faces, they were very different comparing
mhm,
to environment. They were happy, shining, and they were very zealous and committed Christians.
mhm. Okay.
So I felt weird but happy. I'd say this is I think so. Sometimes I was asking myself like, what am I doing? you know,
Yeah.
because it was. crazy amount of time we dedicated. Every day we had
Oh
these
yeah. Hmm.
quiet times. Every day we went somewhere, Bible talks, Bible studies, D times. So it took all my time and it was hard, but somehow I think I can say I liked it. I can say I liked it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you joined the church when we were kind of like right at this like white hot kind of stage in the church where like, I think if you're 94, that was near the evangelization proclamation, all those things.
Yeah,
So there
yeah.
was
It
very
was
much
now I understand that
intensity.
it was on a roll. Yeah.
Yeah, we were on a roll. So like, so you were saying like you and it was great for you to see people, if I'm hearing you correctly, like you were seeing people happy in spite of the circumstances that
Yeah,
they were living
yeah,
in.
that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. Yes, because it was
Mhm.
really bad. Like we had sisters in our dorms, they were eating onion soup for weeks. And when I say onion soup, it's just onion boiled in water and nothing else, salt and pepper. And they could eat it
Mhm.
for weeks. It was very bad. I
Jeez.
hardly ever ate something besides roasted potatoes and pickled cabbage. That was my very simple diet. Every day the same thing. And it was very 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 bad. And but we were happy.
It's it's
We were those
yeah.
people that were really shining on the faculty and campus. Everybody
Hmm.
knew us. So I was kind of happy to be a part of this group, and it gave me some uh, hope, hope for the future. I
Yeah.
really wanted to convert the world. I'd say it like that. I
Yeah.
was absolutely filled with this idea. Yeah.
It's awesome. It's interesting. I think you're giving new meaning to the word broke college student. For us in
Yeah,
America,
right.
we had, even though a lot of us were broke college students, we had a giant cafeteria that we could have whatever we wanted,
Of
essentially,
course.
you know.
Yes. Yes, it's just
Um,
different level.
so yeah, different level, different circumstances, the whole thing. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I could see that being incredibly attractive. Watch. I mean, it's always mind-blowing to me when people are able to handle their circumstances with a smile, because I think that's something I can't do, you know, and that kind of thing is attractive. And I want to know why. How can they do that?
Yeah, and
But
that was what attracted me too, I would say. Hmm.
you mentioned in the beginning it was weird. Like you said weird a couple of times. What was it that you thought was weird?
You know, it was weird because, well, we were like kind of army, you know. Well,
Hmm.
there were bad things too, you know. Like we were sharing our faith every day and we were, how to say, accountable for that. If someone didn't share their faith, there were questions from leaders like, why didn't you share your faith? We were extremely open about all our thoughts, and you were like uh, asking for forgiveness for your thoughts, you know. Sorry, I had these dirty thoughts and all this stuff, and it was like you had to be like really broken about that. And this
Yeah. Hmm.
atmosphere, well, now it seems to me like very weird.
Hmm.
Those days, it also seemed weird, but I was how to say it? Well, I thought, okay, that's weird, but still we're doing a good thing. That's what we should.
Hmm.
That's how we do this. So I embraced that was the right thing. As though now. I just see that it was just a kind of manipulation and abuse. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that those days I felt it and I felt weird because of that. Because I grew up in normal family. My mother and father were always together. I have a sister, so I had a good childhood. I know what love is, you know?
Mhm.
And sometimes I thought, well, that's not love. Jesus wouldn't do that. Jesus wouldn't talk like that. But I pushed away those thoughts. Maybe that's why I'm saying it was weird, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. And so
Yeah.
did you push it away because you felt that this was something that you needed?
I pushed it away because I thought, well, leaders know better. Maybe that's the
Okay.
way.
Hmm.
Maybe that's
Sure.
how it should be, you know? And I tried
Hmm.
not to go deep into these thoughts, which was
Yeah,
actually a mistake,
that's
as I see it now.
mhm. I mean, I resonate a lot with what you said, the leaders know better, because in a lot of ways, that's kind of how we were taught. The leaders knew things. The leaders knew more than we did.
Yeah,
Questioning the
exactly.
leaders in a way was questioning God.
Mhm.
There was no autonomy with that. The question I think I want to know like a couple things. First off, was your leader an American or was he Russian? Like the
No,
evangelist?
at that point, all the Americans had already gone from
Okay.
Saint Petersburg. They
Okay.
were there, but
Hmm.
they had been there before I got baptized.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. At the point of my baptism, my leader was a campus student, and all the leaders were Russians. Yeah.
Okay.
There was a guy, Andy Fleming, who was in Moscow,
Okay.
and he led it all. But
Hmm.
there was no one in Saint Petersburg. No
Okay.
for. Mhm.
And so you mentioned like there was a lot of time. I just I love to hear this because I want to, for me being American, it's wanting to know that like the things that we were doing over here were kind of the same things that y'all were doing. So there was just as many requirements, just as many, you know, things that you had to
Exactly.
do. Hmm.
Yeah. I think it was the same. Mhm.
Okay. And so what was it like with regards to like dating in the church over there?
Oh, yeah, that was also weird. Because every Saturday we had to go on dates and we took sisters and we had time together. Well, at first, actually, it was weird at first. Then, I don't know, I didn't struggle a lot from it. Because, in our campus, we had actually kind of very close group. All of us, we knew each other well. It was kind of closed community because we were out of town, maybe 30 people. So we didn't mind dates, just same sisters, you know them. So it wasn't bad. At first it was very weird. Yeah, but then
I'm
it
I'm
was
imagining I'm
yeah.
imagining how you found the resources to go on dates, or you just had to get creative. I mean, from what you're saying, there wasn't a lot for anyone.
At
So,
first I was just invited by sisters. I had no idea what what we were going to do, you
wait,
know.
the sisters invited you on the date?
Yeah. Hey, let's go to date. And
Wow.
I'm like, why? Well, okay, something like this, you know.
That's
But it
interesting to
wasn't
hear.
bad. We had walks. We were walking in the park. We That's basically all we did. There was nothing else to do. And it was surrounding of St. Petersburg. We had beautiful parks.
Uh-huh.
So Saturday night wasn't worst. Wasn't the worst. Yeah.
But you said that the sisters asked you out, because that's interesting,
Yeah, they
because
did.
that was
Mhm.
not that was not how we did things. over
Exactly.
here.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
No,
it was it was
in my Christian childhood, that was totally acceptable. Yeah.
wow. Okay. Um, yeah, it was up to us the whole time. We had to do the asking, we had to do the seeking out. We were sort of in charge of that. I never had, can't remember ever being invited to something by a girl, like a date. That would have been
Really?
shocking to me.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. But you know what?
Um,
We didn't take this date seriously. Most of us, we were freshmen,
mhm,
and nobody had any idea to get married soon. So it wasn't even discussable. So it was just we did it because leaders told us to do it.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
that's
I
what
get it. Okay.
Christians do. They go on dates every Saturday night.
Yep.
Okay, let's do
Oh,
this. And
all
we
right.
just had fun together, and that's basically it. It wasn't connected to any romance or something, at least
So,
from my
yeah.
perspective.
Okay. So there was pressure, but not a ton of pressure from what you're saying.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
let's call it this way. Yeah.
Did you meet your wife through the church?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
That's the best thing that ever happened to me in the church.
Hmm.
But it was later,
Okay.
1997, 3 years after my baptism.
Okay. So you're in it and you're in it for a while. How long were you in it before you felt that this place might not be the right place? Or you're starting to see things that not sitting well with you at all?
In my case, it was different because I was there twice, let's say that.
Okay. Oh, you left the
And
church and then came back.
yeah, I went into full-time ministry. Unfortunately, I didn't graduate, so I dropped from school. I was
Hmm.
invited to be a full-time, so I went there. Then I met my wife, and we were serving for 6 or 7 years, leading different groups, then leading church. And then there was 2003,
Hmm.
and everything started to fall apart. And that was bad time. My wife
Hmm.
was pregnant, and actually I got so depressed that I started to sin. I
Hmm.
started to drink, smoke, uh, had mm, had some amount of money, could afford it, and I just fell away without thinking that church was bad. So I was bad. That's how I.
Okay.
We almost divorced. For a few years, I was out, but then one day I decided to repent and return.
Okay.
But it was
Um,
already 2009, so sometime later. And then I returned to ICOC, and I found out that the church is different. It's not what I
mhm,
left.
mhm.
And then I joined ICC immediately. Well, almost immediately. So
Well, I want to
if you're
I want to pause for
familiar
a second.
with,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So you were in the full-time ministry. What was it
Yeah.
like to be a leader after, like, you believing that like the leaders know everything, stuff like that? What was it like to serve as a leader in the church?
Well, same thing. You always have somebody over you.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
I was just totally committed to this uh, submission.
Hmm.
So I submitted. I didn't ask anything. If something bothered me, I asked my leader, and I always took what he was saying. So I was pretty committed to this, let's say, tree,
Hmm.
tree of chain of command.
Yeah.
I was just
Okay.
a part of it. That's why when it fell apart in 2003, I literally didn't know what to do
Okay.
because they told me you have no leader anymore, and I was like, how would I leave? What would I say to
Yeah.
people? Yeah. And then they fired us in 2003. They said there was no more money. It was very bad because my wife, we had 2-month old daughter, and they kicked us out. That was probably the first, uh, how to say, first hit,
Hmm.
because even in the world, you can't fire a woman with a 2-month baby. It's
Hmm.
illegal. But because we didn't have white salary, if you know what I mean. They
Hmm.
just gave us money in envelope every month. So, and they just kicked us out like a puppies after 7 years of serving, and that was very hurtful when I realized like they really
Hmm.
did the thing that is prohibited in the world, you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
But they did it, and I was like, well, how could you do it? Oh, I have no money. Go away. And that was a
Yeah.
moment of, let's say, sobering, because after we got out of ministry, I realized I have no one to talk. Like,
Hmm.
people talk to me because I was in the ministry, and yeah, that was bad. So it kind of made me bitter, and
Hmm.
I fell away. But then, as I already said, I returned back in 2009. Yeah,
And so you
6 years
said that the
later.
church was different. Yeah.
Yeah, and the church was
The church
different.
was different. Um, how so?
I don't know. Mm, We were in another city at that moment. We were in Kiev, Ukraine, 2009, and basically we couldn't connect with anybody. We
Mhm.
came to church, we came to meetings, but the atmosphere was different. Actually, we had a lot of uh, like weird things in 90s, but people were friendly. That's what I got used to.
Mhm.
Like, everybody's hugging, everybody's saying hi. And when I was there in 2009, it was like different.
Mhm.
Nobody's friendly, nobody's smiling. I was trying to say some, I was trying to invite people to our house, or spend time together. Everybody's busy. So I thought, I didn't know what is it about. How is that, And then I met Kip McKeon in Kiev.
Mhm.
And then he said, listen,
Wow.
we make it all over again. ICOC is dead. We're making a new movie. We're making a new movement. And it's not us, it's God. Well, all this propaganda. So I bought it.
So
And
you
I said,
met,
okay. Huh?
wow, you met Kit McKean
All right,
after
of
he's
course.
starting the new one, the
Yeah,
ICC.
ICC, yes.
Wow.
That was a moment. Yeah.
Wow.
And he invited us to be a part of church. Yeah, in Kiev, ICC
Okay.
church. It was just
ICC
100,
Church in
just a
Kiev.
bunch of people, maybe 100 people, something. Yeah.
And so was it so you go to ICC, was it like walking into a place that like feels like you've been there before kind of thing?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I could say
Okay.
that.
Hmm.
Exactly. When I entered the hall, I thought, well, maybe not when I entered the hall in Kiev, but then they invited us to Los Angeles, and we flew there. And when I entered the hall there, I felt like, wow, that's it. That's the kingdom of God. That was my thoughts.
Wow.
It was
It's
2012. Hmm.
it's so interesting whenever I'll just I researched the ICC and like looked at certain stuff and it was really wild to see just sort of the same but different things. Like for instance, like do you remember the K&N videos?
Yeah, yeah,
And
of
then
course I
yeah,
do.
so we had the
Mhm.
K&N and then the
They
ICC
have
had
GNN.
the
Yeah.
GNN. And then we had Hope Worldwide and then they
Yeah.
had Mercy Worldwide,
Mercy
you
Worldwide.
know.
Now they have new iteration,
You have
RCW.
the
And I
RCW.
wonder how they will call their this Mercy brand. How will it be called? I don't know. Love something. Yeah, that's
There's
interesting.
something I love to ask people that were a part of our church from across the world is like, what was it like to watch the K&N videos? Because for us, we're seeing y'all, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It at first it was like wow. It
Hmm.
was very impressive, and I was very happy to be a part of this group. And actually, I was very thrilled to be a part of
Hmm.
worldwide movement. I was thrilled
Yeah. Hmm.
because of the idea that I can go anywhere. I don't know, New York City or I don't know, Kinshasa, and say, "Hi, I'm your brother." And I get a place to stay and meal and everything. That
Yeah.
was
Hmm.
really what made me happy. So yes, I loved it. But closer to 2003, when it was more like propaganda, to be
Okay.
honest.
Yeah. Hmm.
It didn't touch that much anymore because I already saw a lot of things that were inspiring, and yeah, it was different.
Yeah. I can remember that. What was it? The countdown that was at the end of every one because we were trying to reach the world. So you would
Yeah,
have like
yeah.
I don't know if it's the nation countdown or something. Um, but it was like I think I felt the same thing you did watching the K&N videos. And like there's people across the world that are doing the same thing we're doing, you know, like
Yeah,
they would do the spotlights in Russia or China or wherever they were doing it. And I was like, you could see they were singing the same songs, speaking the same quote unquote language, our language of the church.
exactly,
It was
exactly.
it was wild.
Yeah.
Um,
And I was very
so
happy to come to LA in 2012, and basically we had the same spirit, which made me happy. So at that point,
um mhm.
I ICC was like, well, it seemed to me a nice place to be, so I liked it.
Did you feel maybe this is me because I grew up in it and you just hear the name Kit McKean. Was there like a mystique around him? Like you were like, oh my gosh, like I'm talking to Kit McKean. Like,
Um, it was like that when I was in ICOC because he
mhm.
was kind of mystical figure somewhere,
Yeah. Hmm.
unapproachable.
Yeah.
But not in ICC because it was just a small group of people and you could always reach him and talk to him. So
Yeah.
there wasn't
Hmm.
this idea.
So you leave the Ukraine, you're in Los Angeles. Now, did you move to Los Angeles or were you just there
I
visiting?
moved to Los Angeles later. And
Okay.
again, that was a bad thing because we were there when we joined the movement, and I had pretty secure job, and we had little kids. And then Keep asked us to join the full-time ministry and just throw everything away. And my wife was strictly against it. She said, you've already done it once.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that was a catastrophe. So don't do it again. But I was like, no, Abraham was called and I'm called by God and all this stuff. So I threw away everything. We lost everything. We lost our house. I lost my career, um, all our money. And then we joined the full-time ministry. Then Kip sent us to Moscow in 2014. And very surprisingly, they fired us again in 2016. And I couldn't just
Why did
get
they
it. And I
fire
said,
you?
listen, look, I throw it all away. Like what I do, what am I doing now? Then there was one brother who invited us to LA to work, to lead a group in Kip's church. So we got fired and hired again immediately. It
So
was
did they
probably
fire you because of finances? Did they fire you because of
yeah, they
finances
just
like the first
I
time?
think they just didn't want to have us because we were old, I was already in
Hmm.
my 40s, kids, you gotta pay some amount of money. And the focus of the church was campus. So they just
Hmm.
wanted to
Yeah.
hire some, I don't know, 20 somethings, give them $100 and send them to the fields. We just yeah, we weren't fit for what they wanted. But they
Got it.
they they invited us to LA, and yeah, we were there for a year. And it was LA when I got completely disappointed in the movement because
What
I
was it that
saw
made you disappointed?
absolutely lifeless, um, how to say, legalistic, unhappy
Hmm.
group, very bad. And what they did, a lot of propaganda, a lot of, I don't know, fake, phony numbers, something. And I just, the thing is, when you're somewhere, not in LA, you think, well, LA is a kingdom of God. We're bad, it's bad
Yeah.
here.
Hmm.
But over
Yep.
there, oh my God, it's just Jesus is there. And when I
Hmm.
came there, I found out, well, it's even worse. It's even worse what comparing to what we had in Moscow. And I was so disappointed. And of course, I started to talk about my feelings, and of course, they fired us again. And that was catastrophe because I was in my late 40s. Yeah, I was no 45. Yeah, close to. And that was terrible because we found after all our years, serving and sacrificing, we got completely broke with having nothing, with two teenage daughters. Yeah, that was harsh. And I was bitter to God for a while. Went through grief recovery, had some therapy, but it's okay. Now it's okay. It took some time.
Hmm. That's
So
awesome.
now we're back on track. I'm actually happy that all this happened. Sorry for my English. Not my native
It's
language.
okay. No, it's fine. It's okay. You keep mentioning propaganda, and what are some examples of the things that you
Yeah,
thought was
well, I
propaganda?
was shocked in LA, for instance. One day we attended campus ministry meeting
Hmm.
of whole LA church, and there was probably, I don't know, 500 students, fired up, happy, shining, singing,
Hmm.
sharing, and they were like so this group was so impressive. But when I started to talk to them, well, 70% of them, they only take one class just to have a possibility to go and share their faith in the
Hmm.
university. And then I asked this leader, I said, you say you have 700 students, but you only have 2 or 3 graduation every year. So how is it combined? And
Uh,
And I was so upset that people just didn't graduate because it wasn't possible, when you have
like graduate
everyday
college
quiet
or
time, D time, some,
oh
I don't
yeah,
know,
okay.
sharing, tagging, and they just dropped off. And I was so mad, and I spoke to these leaders. I said, what are you doing? You're ruining their lives. What are they going to do without a degree? They will quarrel with their families. They will just their next future Uber drivers in, I don't know, in 5 years. And that's exactly what was happening because
Yeah, there
people
was
invested
yeah.
themselves into the church, they got squeezed and kicked out. And finally I understood that it was kind of, I don't know, the rate of people who are kicked out should be less than the
Hmm.
rate of people who got baptized. And that's the whole business. And I understood it has nothing to do with Jesus. You just use people and throw them, use people, squeeze people, and throw them away with broken dreams, without a degree, without money, without anything. And it was bad. After they gave everything, serving like 24/7, that was actually made me mad and
Hmm.
upset.
Yeah,
When I saw it from inside.
the using and manipulation is, I mean, it was rampant. I mean, I love that you used that word squeeze because essentially
Hmm.
that's what they were doing to us. They're
Yeah,
squeezing us for whatever they could get. And, in college, I remember being in campus, it was like it really didn't matter what your degree was. Like the desire needed to be, I'm just going to be an evangelist. And the
yeah,
things that you
exactly.
do need
And if you
to,
and if you want to be a scientist and you don't want to be an evangelist, well, you're weak. You're weak.
yeah.
You gotta be discipled. You gotta.
Hmm.
We're gonna study the Bible with you, and it's so far from Jesus. Who's
Hmm.
happy for whoever we are. He supports us.
Hmm.
You want to be
Yeah.
scientist? I'm your side. I'm on your side. You want to be, I don't know, singer? Well,
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm ready to die for you. That's who
Hmm.
Jesus is, and it's so far from what we did and from what we had. I'm just, still,
Hmm.
it still hurts, and it still hurts because I wasn't just a part of it. I was a part of who did it, you know,
Yeah.
who did
Hmm.
it to people. I was that guy. I was
Yeah.
talking, hey, you got to dream about a ministry. Yeah, because if you're in a ministry, you get a good wife or something. Oh my God, that's bad. I'm so
No,
ashamed of, and I'm glad it wasn't for long.
hmm
I'm happy that God opened my eyes sooner than later.
yeah. Yeah. I'm glad too. I want to ask this, just back up because I've heard numerous people talk about being rebaptized. So when you came back to church, did you get rebaptized?
Oh yes, I did. Yeah, I
Mm.
thought that but it was kind of my own decision
Hmm.
because when I got baptized in '94, I actually didn't want to. I did it because people said, "Hey, you need to." So I did it.
Hmm. Okay.
But in 2000 something 13, I thought, oh no, no, I gotta be rebaptized because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to. But yeah, that's what they do.
Okay.
But it's
I was just wondering it, but it sounds like there was a heart. It was you're like, I know I need to recommit myself. Like you felt it more than people were
I
telling you
felt
were
it, yeah,
supposed
I felt it more than people around. Nobody actually told me to do it. That was my own
to.
perspective
Got it.
and
Okay. I was just wondering.
idea. Mhm.
Um, so when you're a part of the ICC, you're seeing this. What was the thing that made you think I need to leave? I need to get out.
Well, I think the worst thing after I really started to think about it, it's when they started to expel people
Okay.
for nothing. Just like somebody said, "Hey, that's bad. Jesus wouldn't do this," and they were addressing leaders or something, and then they were kicking these people out, and not just kicking out, but it was so, I don't know. They were writing these letters like how bad this person is, that they are, I don't know, servants of Satan, and they're
Hmm.
always were in darkness, and it was like such a propaganda, like in Russian Gulag in the 30s,
Hmm.
and everybody had to stop communicating with them. They had to be excluded from social nets, from Facebook, I don't know. And these stories, they started to appear.
Hmm.
And after two or three of them, I thought, hey, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that this guy is servant of Satan. I know him. Yes, he doesn't like what church does, but I I don't use these words. I'm not playing with that, you know? And
Hmm.
that was actually a moment when I understood that I'm done. It took
Hmm.
some time though, but I think that was a reason. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
there was
main
a lot of narrative control, once and I mean once you're kicked out of our church, I mean you were essentially had to be dead to everybody. There was no,
Exactly. Exactly. I just don't
w-
know where they take it from.
yeah,
Well, there are some passages, of course, but if you analyze them, well, it's totally different.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, yeah.
So so how long was when you left, was it like a slow leaving? Was it like night and day kind of thing?
It was night and day because I was still there, I was committed as though I wasn't in the ministry anymore. We
Hmm.
returned to Moscow. I was a part of the Moscow church. I started to rebuild my life, to get a job, to take care of my family. It was very hard, but I was still a part of the church. But then there was another big expel. They expelled some even group of people
Hmm.
who were criticizing Kiev and our local leader or
Hmm.
something. And I said, I'm done. Just like this. I said, the only thing I said, I called to leaders and I say, I refuse to stop communicating to these people. And it was very quick. You refuse to communicate, you're out. And there was also a huge letter, how bad I was, and how long it was, and how merciful they were to tolerate me all these, I don't know, years, and my wife, and all this stuff. And they said to our kids, my daughter was 15 years old. They said to her that your parents turned crazy, like Nebuchadnezzar.
Oh,
It
jeez.
was all very, very interesting. And my daughter, and that was hurtful for her. She grew up in the church. So yeah, and I was shocked by how quick it was and how bad I was,
Hmm.
according to what they wrote.
Yeah, we loved letters in the church.
Yeah,
Letters,
that's for
letters
sure.
got out, letters were shown. Um, that had to have been hard to have a letter written about you like that.
Uh, it was hard because actually I dedicated a lot of my life into that. But from
Hmm.
the other hand, it was sobering, you know? It was like, that's what it is. So it was like, when you have this ache in your body
Hmm.
and it
Yeah.
aches and it aches, and someone tells you, hey, you just need a surgery, and you don't want to
Hmm.
do it. You're like, no, it's gonna be okay. But deep inside, no, it's not.
Yeah.
And then one day is okay, let's do the surgery. So it was just
Got
like
it.
that. It's hurtful, but it was healing, you know? And I
Okay.
woke up and I said, I don't believe it's God's church. So I don't believe it works like that because all the people who were spreading this letter, they knew they were lying, you know?
Hmm.
They knew it's not true. What is written is not true. But and some people also refused to buy it and left. But most of the people they say, oh, okay, leaders wrote us that they're like servants of Satan. Okay, they are, you know, and yeah, that was hurtful, but that was sobering, and I'm very glad that it went this way, like
Okay.
from now on. Yeah,
What was it like after not
that
having
was
this
bad.
church?
That was bad.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that my spirit was destroyed. I didn't realize I had problems with my mental health after all
Hmm.
these years. I didn't realize how hard it is to survive in the world without a degree, without work experience, when you start to do all over again in your late 40s. It was every day was just bad day for first few years. Yeah,
Yeah.
and but I'm grateful to my wife. She supported me. My kids, they're brilliant. They're college girls now. I don't know. So
Hmm.
grateful for them. They're
It's
labor
awesome.
loving, humble, beautiful, doing their stuff, never complaining. So, with the help of my family, I could go through it. At first, I was very bitter, and my position was, God, why did you do it to me? I
Yeah.
gave you
Hmm.
everything. Why did you do it to me? But in time, and with therapy and with prayers and readings, I realized God didn't do it to me. I,
Hmm.
I did it myself. And he was like, he was against it. That wasn't his will. But he's still on my side. Like I'm on the side of my children when they do wrong things. I don't support them, but I'm still with them, and I'm ready to give them the hand when they stumble. So I think God is awesome. That's what I know. And now it's been 5 years, still fighting, but we got into huge debt, but we got out of it like completely.
It's awesome.
We we're together. I love my wife, my kids, my mother, my in-laws, my sister. We're all very close and makes me so happy. And yeah, that's all the things I missed being a part
Hmm.
of the ICC. I just enjoy the simple things that
Yeah.
I was missing almost my whole life because
Hmm.
everything I had was just, my leader and whoever he appointed to be my friend. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. It sounds like you've landed in a really great place.
Well,
Is there
not
anything
yet,
that you,
but still struggle,
uh,
but on the way.
yeah, yeah, I get that. Is there something you've learned that like maybe you wish you had known before, or you'd like to share with people that are struggling or thinking about leaving or have left and, you know, don't know where to go or what to do?
I think what I would advise maybe something like if you feel that something's weird,
Hmm.
well, don't shove it, in the corner.
Yeah.
Just think about it, meditate about it, talk about it. I believe in Jesus. There shouldn't Everything should be clear and nice, I would say.
Yeah.
At
Okay.
least at least understandable, you know.
Hmm.
because that's what people do in cults. They twist the truth, you know. And at first
Mhm.
you feel like, well, that's bad. And then they tell you, no, that's okay. And then you buy it. That's where the
Mhm.
problem comes from. You just don't buy it. You just say, no, I believe Jesus would do differently. I believe it's not true Christianity. I believe we should discuss it. In most cases, you'll be kicked out very, very soon. But that's okay, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's what I had to. That's what I learned. That's what I had to do in the very beginning, and that's what I do now. If I don't, if I don't support something in the church where I go, what I see, I'm open about it. I'm not hostile. I'm not angry, but I just say, hey, listen, I don't believe that's Christianity, and
Mhm.
that's it. Uh, yeah,
Mhm.
that's probably what I would advise. Just be open about how you feel and what you think.
Yeah. I mean,
Usually it works.
and what you're saying is a very powerful thing to say because just the act of if something feels weird, something you sense it, saying it is the most powerful thing.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
first of all, say it to yourself.
yeah, say it to
Yeah,
yourself.
that's where it starts, you know? You just
Hmm.
don't buy it. Or at least you discuss it with yourself, with God. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is how we this is a freedom that Jesus taught us about. This is
Hmm.
the feeling of freedom. This is what I lacked my whole life. I didn't have it.
Hmm.
I'm very happy to have it now. I know God loves me. People love me. Well, at least some of them.
Yeah,
Right.
I
Okay.
get that. That's awesome. So what do you think? We were in a cult?
I think so. Well, it's not that black and white. I think we were in organization which at some stages of its existence was a cult.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's not, you know, it's always in transition. Every group of people, it's not the same tomorrow as it was yesterday, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So at some points it was a cult. When I was in LA in 2017 in ICC, that was certainly a cult,
Okay.
cultist cult.
The cultiest cult of them
Well,
all.
right.
Yeah.
But I think we were in most
Hmm.
cases. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still, you know, I wouldn't, I still feel, you know, I still have mixed feelings. I had a
Hmm.
lot of good emotions from there. I met my wife, who's the best person on the planet. I would never probably met her out of church because at that moment church was filled with, you know, um, committed people, people who wanted to do good, and she was among them.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I have her. My kids grew up in the church, and they're awesome, you know. So, but still, yes, I think I think we were in a cult. I
Okay.
think we were in a
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story,
Yeah,
for
thank
adding it
you.
to the conversation. Yeah, I wish you all the best. It's awesome to speak to someone from across the world that had some of the same issues and experienced the same things that I
Yeah,
did. And I know
yeah.
lots of people are going to benefit from this.
Hope to
That's
that.
awesome.
Hope to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Well,
take care of
let's
yourself.
stay
Yeah.
connected. If anything,
Yeah.
uh, I'm glad to talk to you and thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's very important and nice
Hmm.
thing to do.
Well,
Thanks,
I
man.
mean, I'll keep this open as long as people want to come on, you know?
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
luck with
Hmm.
that.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Clemens with a Z. Your support means the world to me and helps keep these important conversations going. If you were a member, are a member, or know someone who was a member of the ICOC or the ICC, and would like to share your story about life in and out of the church, I'd love to hear from you. Together we can continue exploring the question, we were in a cult, and perhaps find some healing along the way. You can reach me via email at clemenswithaz@gmail.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at the Clemens with a Z podcast page. As always, if you enjoy the podcast, please rate and review. It helps more people find these stories. And don't forget, I'm just a channel, I ain't the source. If you'd like to support the podcast financially, you can find the link to the GoFundMe in the show notes or on the Clemens with a Z Instagram page. Also, if you'd like to support the podcast in another way, you can head over to clemenswithaz.com and grab a sticker or something cool from the shop. Every little bit helps, keeps this conversation going, and I'm so grateful for it. So until next time, take care of yourself, stay grateful, and keep growing. Peace.